Is this the greatest Marvel film since Endgame? No. But is it one of the better Marvel films since Endgame? Yeah.
Bing bong.
Now, I saw Captain America Brave New World, and I just want to start off by saying, over the last several years, I get it. I am really hard on Marvel. A lot of their movies have left a ton to be desired. The entirety of Phase 4 was basically a bunch of nothing. It led to literally nothing. But I will go down to my dying breath saying that Captain America Brave New World is pretty good. Now, I know that the MCU movies do not hit the way they used to. Almost everything about this movie, to me, feels like a classic MCU Phase 1 through 3 type of movie, just as a movie that follows the general Marvel formula that they have been using over the last 15 years or whatever it is now. It's good. It's like a well-made movie. Don't get me wrong, some of my enjoyment of this film might be because I skip a lot of the Marvel projects these days. I've skipped a lot of the recent movies, I've skipped a lot of the TV shows that they put on because I just don't have that much interest in them, even though I watched Echo, and I definitely regret that. From that extent, I understand the people who are exhausted from the MCU. But I truly think if you went into this movie with an open mind, right? You weren't already just angry that Captain America's black now and there's all this diversity in the world and that makes you feel threatened for some reason. If you went in with an open mind thinking, you know what? It's the first MCU movie of the year. As a new Captain America in charge now, like, I'm just gonna see what this movie has to offer. The Red Hulk is in it, Harrison Ford is in it, adding some legitimacy to a film like this. If you went in with an open mind, I just find it really hard to think that you watched the same movie that I did, that you could come out of a movie like this and think it's not that good. Like, is it peak Marvel Infinity War Endgame? Like, no, of course not, because those are some of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Like, if you're going into this movie expecting one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, this is not one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. But is it good? Is it a solid entry in the MCU? Do I think in a few years it'll be looked back on much more fondly? Yeah, kind of. And there are a few reasons for that. One of the most important things this movie does, in my opinion, is that it solidifies Sam Wilson, it solidifies Anthony Mackie as the next Captain America, as our new Captain America, because I'm somebody that, I'll be totally honest, did not think Anthony Mackie was the right casting for this role. I didn't think he was that compelling of an actor, and I really didn't know if he had the star power to carry a mantle like Captain America the way Chris Evans did, even though Chris Evans was essentially a fucking nobody when he got the Captain America role. He became a huge draw. He became a huge reason why people enjoyed the character so much, and I wasn't sure Anthony Mackie had the capability of resonating with audiences the way Chris Evans did. I was completely wrong. Anthony Mackie absolutely crushes it in this role. They do an incredible job of making you feel like he is the everyman's Captain America. He is the Captain America for the people. He doesn't take the super soldier serum. He uses his words in an incredibly compelling and intelligent and compassionate way to see the good in people, even if we think they might be irredeemable. And overall, it just comes across like he is the leader we need going forward with the Avengers. And that leads me into my next point. This movie finally feels like it pushes the MCU in a direction. Is it a definitive direction? Do we know exactly what the next year or so is going to look like? Not really. The main point of this movie is that Everett Ross wants Captain America to reassemble the Avengers. As a fan of superhero movies, as someone who wants to like the MCU the way I used to, this is all I've been asking for. All I've been asking for over the years is make the movie have a purpose. Make it lead towards something else. Make me interested in whatever the next project is, because that's where they started to lose me. The way that some of these previous films, like Black Panther 2 or Shang-Chi, weren't bad movies necessarily. I just felt like they didn't lead to the next thing. And that's something that Marvel built their entire brand off of over the last several years, was every movie was leading to the next big thing. And it felt like with no Avengers movie in Phase 4, they didn't have a thing to lead to. So I really appreciated that now we have a direction. We are going to build the new Avengers. I'm very curious to see who Captain America chooses to be part of the new Avengers. It made me excited to see where the MCU is headed. And that is a feeling I have not had in a very long time. I have not really cared where the MCU is headed at all because it felt like it had no direction, to the point that we saw recently they are bringing back Robert Downey Jr. into the MCU because it feels like even they know they have lost their direction here going forward. But now it feels like we're back on track. I'm excited to see the next movie, and it just made it all feel like Brave New World did what it set out to do. It made you care about the new Captain America. It made you feel like the new Captain America is capable of leading the next Avengers, and it makes you re-engaged with the MCU. It shows you that, yes, is this the greatest Marvel film since Endgame? No. But is it one of the better Marvel films since Endgame? Yeah, because I saw Ant-Man Quantumania. Ant-Man Quantumania single-handedly made me give up on Marvel. That movie, that's what I don't understand. When people, I'm seeing all these influencers or whatever being like, oh, this movie's a train wreck. It's a disaster. It's an embarrassment. You did not watch Quantumania because that movie was an embarrassment to Marvel. That movie sucked. That movie took the joy that I once had about superhero films and squashed it. I no longer cared. And this movie brought it back. And that's really special. That's really cool because I wanted that. I want to go into these movies excited. I want that same excitement that I felt during the phase 1 through 3 of the MCU. And is it back all the way? Not quite. Do I need to see maybe a couple other solid MCU movies before I'm like, all right, we're back, baby? Yes, I definitely need to see them do this at least a couple more times. But is it a good feeling that they did it once, finally, for the first time in what feels like forever? They made a movie that I thought was actually pretty good. Yeah, that's a pretty good feeling. I am happy with Brave New World. I'm pumped about Captain America again. I mean, Captain America used to be one of my favorite superheroes, and then I just, it felt like we weren't really going anywhere for a while, and now it feels like we're back, and I loved everything about Anthony Mackie's portrayal of the character here. I love that he's just a regular guy. There's a couple scenes in this movie where he doesn't have his gear, and they establish that even without his gear, he's still incredibly formidable. He can hold his own against pretty much anybody. Sure, there were a few of the usual Marvel issues. Some of the comedy was a little cringy. Some of the CGI was not good. But I've personally kind of given up on Marvel with the CGI. I think that it's been an issue for this long that I don't really know anything outside of an Avengers movie that they'll take the time to make the CGI look good. I think it was fine enough, and in some places it was bad, and that just kind of describes a lot of the MCU movies over the last 10 years or so. I think that while this movie had its flaws, obviously, very few movies are perfect. Those flaws don't take away from my enjoyment of the movie and my feelings that this movie is overhated. I don't really know exactly why, although I can think of one very specific reason. I think that if you went into it with an open mind, this is a movie that you'll enjoy. It's a movie that'll make you feel good about the direction of the MCU, and I highly recommend Captain America: Brave New World. I think it's one of the better Marvel movies in quite some time. Definitely go check it out.